Okay, so today's recipe is a Dr. Gundry plant paradox recipe. It is for a grain-free cracker. So my first ingredient is going to be 1 cup of almond flour. I've already measured it out. And then next is going to be 3/4 cup of tapioca flour. And I have made this recipe a bunch of times. I even measure it out to make it easy for dinner time. I also have 2½ teaspoons of arrowroot and xatham gum, 1/8. That's just a very tiny little bit. Okay, done with that one. And let's see, salt. ½ teaspoon of salt. And let's see, with this ½ teaspoon of pepper, making sure I'm giving the right measurements to you. I put the things in here so I wouldn't have to worry about that part. So I got all that done. And then onion powder, it's going to be 2½ teaspoons, which is really going to be mostly all of what's in here. I'm going to go ahead and just dump that in there. Okay. And this is where the flavor comes from the onion powder. So you want to get that in there because that's what puts the flavor. I'm going to go ahead and mix up the dry ingredients first. You can also use garlic powder. I am preheating my oven at 350 degrees. All right, so that's the dry ingredients, and you're going to do 1 cup of water. Now, if you wanted it to be a thicker consistency, you could do less water. I have tried it both ways. I kind of feel like it gets crunchier if you do the whole cup of water, but it spreads out more on the pan. But if you wanted to make it more like a round shape and have it look a little bit more fancy and structured, you could do less water and it would be good for that. So just trying to make sure I don't have any lumps of onion powder or anything else in here. Now I do measure this out in bigger increments to be able to have a quick side for a meal. So this is a weird cooking. You cook it for 10 minutes at 350, then you cook it for 20 minutes at 400. I will have all the information about this recipe in the description box of this video. Very next step that you do is you get out your dish, and this is the most important part of the recipe, is this step right here. You have to spray down your pan. So I've lined a pan with foil, and you have to spray this down really good. Otherwise, you'll have a really hard time getting the cracker off of the pan. Okay, so I've got that sprayed really well. And then I'm just going to pour it on. Just kind of spread it out a little bit. It'll spread out as it cooks as well. I'm going to go ahead and get some of this out of here. Okay, and I usually take my spoon and kind of spread it out. But it'll spread some on its own as well. Also kind of check for lumpy places. But the more it's spread out, the crunchier it gets. You got to watch it really closely, because even though it says 350 for 10 minutes and 400 for 20 minutes, you still want to watch it, because if the edges get too crispy, they're not very good. The perfect amount of crisp. And I have made this recipe a bunch. So I'm just spreading it out. All right. So we're done messing with that. Okay, and the topping for this recipe is poppy seed, Now this is a gluten-free, grain-free cracker. So if you're trying to cut grains out of your life, this would be a great thing to do. Also, I use sesame seeds. I'm just going to go ahead and pour some in my hand. And I'm just going to kind of drizzle some sesame seed over the cracker. So poppy seed and sesame seed. Of course, if you don't like poppy seed or sesame seed, you can add it. They're obviously both very good for you. Like I said, this is a Dr. Gundry plant paradox recipe. All right, let me call out that recipe one more time for you guys to make sure we got it. And it is 1 cup of almond flour, 3/4 cup tapioca flour, 1/8 of a teaspoon of xatham gum, 2½ teaspoons of arrowroot, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1½ teaspoon of onion powder, and 1 cup of water. And like I said, you bake it at 350 for 10 minutes and then 400 for 20 minutes, topped with poppy or sesame seeds, or you can leave them both off and just have the cracker like it is. This is really, really awesome with guacamole. It's also really good by itself. It's also good as a side dish with a dinner. So I'll bring you back and show you how this cracker looks when I'm done. Okay guys, the cracker is ready. I've cut it with the pizza cutter, and I have out the holy guacamole, which guacamole is really healthy for you too. So, all right, I'm gonna pull off of this edge over here. Looks nice and crispy. I love it when the edge gets crispy like that on the bottom. Really good. So I'm just gonna dip in a corner and give this a try. Came out really good, guys. I hope you'll try this recipe. Thank you, Ginger, for inviting me to this collaboration. I enjoyed it very much, sharing my favorite healthy recipe with you guys. And I will have the recipe in the description box and the playlist for this collaboration as well. You guys have a great day. Be blessed. Do something kind, guys. Bye, everybody.